Hey guys, welcome back to How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh, and in today's first ever 5-minute review, let's take a quick look at Parks by Keymaster Games. Parks is a wonderful board game for 1 to 5 players that has those players taking on the roles of a pair of hikers trekking across the various wilderness and national parks of the US. This game is made in conjunction with something called the 59 Parks print series and is beautifully illustrated and designed. It's a ton of fun to play. It comes in this airtight box with some of the best organization I've ever seen, and I can tell you right now, I'm going to recommend you pick it up. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the specifics of my review and why I like this game so much, throwing the scoreboard up on the screen over here, and start with theme and immersion. This game is beautifully thematic and completely immersive. You fully get the feeling and the vibe that you are hiking through these various locations, these real-world locations, and taking in the sights and experiencing them just as if you were doing it in real life. First off, these Parks cards here that you're actually going to be attempting to acquire throughout the course of the game by visiting them, they are made with that 59 Parks print series, like I mentioned. They depict beautiful illustrations of these real-world wildlife areas, these national parks, these wilderness forests, and they're done in varying art styles. Some are hyper-realistic, some are more watercolor, some use pastels. They're just beautiful to look at. They give you the actual location of the park, and they give you a fun fact about the park, on top of just the elements that it requires to visit the park and the victory points that you get at the end of the game for visiting it. Every single time one of these cards come out of the deck, everybody pauses and looks at it and wants to know, what park is that and where does it actually exist in the US, and read the little fun fact out loud. So you're fully drawn into these parks because of how beautiful the illustrations are and how well designed the cards are. They're not regular size playing cards, they're tarot size cards, so they're fun to handle. They're easy to read from across the table, and when I say read, I mean visually observe the card as well as read the print on it. And overall, they just really bring something unique to the game. On top of that, the different components that you're going to be interacting with, obtaining different bits of hiking gear, like a compass or rain gear or a wide-angle lens for your camera, because of course you're taking photographs while you're out in the wild, all bring in the vibe and keep you in the mood of feeling like you're actually out in the forest exploring. The elements that you're going to collect while your 2 hiker tokens move down this lovely sort of trail map here and adventure across the mountains or the deserts or the ocean areas and the forests. Those elements that you collect, like forests and rain and sunshine and mountains and wild animals, which actually represent the wild token that you can trade in for any resource. They're actually various wild animal shapes. They're not all just one sort of generic wild shape token. Those all keep you in that mindset of interacting with the different elements that you would experience while you were out in the wild. The fact that when you obtain this lovely oversized camera token, which is shaped like an old antique film camera, and you use that to take a picture, you don't just get a 1 victory point token that tracks that you get a victory point for taking a picture. You get these miniature square Polaroids of actual wilderness shots and wildlife that you put down in front of you to represent the photo that you took, that actually shows you the photo that you took, and then of course on the back reminds you that it's worth a victory point. The whole game is designed to keep you in the mindset of the experience that it's supposed to be representing, instead of the victory points that you're attempting to acquire by game's end. The fact that you go down the trail map 4 times to represent the 4 seasons, the fact that the season cards change sort of the weather pattern and the layout of the available bonus elements every round. Each player has an individual sort of bonus card that allows them to get some extra VP by achieving side goals, and even those keep you very much in the mindset of what the game is meant to represent. If you want to share a space on the trail map with another player's hiker, you have to extinguish your campfire, flipping it over to the smoldering side, showing that you've spent additional effort to build a campsite with that other group. The whole game is perfectly on theme and completely immersive. I absolutely love it. Solid 2 for 2 out of theme and immersion. Moving on to cost versus quality. This game costs something like $40 or $50, which if you look at the box, you might think, well, that's a bit pricey. That's a relatively small box, right? It's actually quite a deal. This game has tons of replayability to it. It's got a wide range of players, 1 to 5. It's got this lovely deck of solo cards here featuring a lone wolf on the back, so you can even play it by yourself. But a game that plays up to 5 is solid, and $40, $45, $50 is the perfect price range for this style of game because it's not gigantic. It doesn't fill up the board with a bunch of wooden tokens and plastic miniatures. It's got just enough to have a nice bit of tactile feel to it. It takes up just the right amount of space. Everybody can observe the beauty beauty that the game has to offer. But like I said, it's got tons of replayability because your player trail board up here is going to shuffle every time. The cards that come out of this deck are going to shuffle every time, so you're going to constantly see different parks. The equipment that comes out of the equipment and gear deck is going to be shuffled every single time. The seasons that you're going to have to interact with, the personal goal cards that you're going to receive, everything changes every game. And so you can play it over and over, and it's a relatively fast-paced game, so it's not necessarily time-consuming. It's very easy to fit into a wide range of groups, to fit into a game night. You're absolutely going to get your money's worth out of the game. And on a quick note, as I've mentioned in the past, this box is by far the best organization I've ever seen in a board game ever, hands down, full stop. There's not a single gap of air in this box when you're done filling all of the components in, and a 5-year-old could figure out how to perfectly lay out all of the components in this box due to the fact that there is a molded plastic liner that is basically vacuum formed to every single unique piece shape in this game. Everything fits into this box perfectly right up to the lid. It's amazing. I wish more games would go through the effort of designing an interior like this box has. So solid 2 for 2 on cost versus quality. You're absolutely going to get your money's worth. Moving on from there, ease of use. It's a very easy game to play. It fits on a table of maybe 3 foot by 3 foot, doesn't take up a ton of space. It's got these wonderful organizers here that are shaped like logs, almost like you might use for a campfire, that contain all of the different tokens and components that you need to pass around the table. And as you notice, there are 2 of them. So even if you were playing on a rectangular table and you were worried that not all players are going to be able to reach the token tray, they give you 2 token trays with an equal distribution of tokens within them. That's amazing. I don't know if I know of any other game that does that other than maybe some Stonemaier games that give you those nice individual plastic cups, but even those need to kind of be passed around or distributed evenly around the table. Here, you can give each side of the table or each end of the table their own token tray. That's wonderful. And beyond that, all of the different cards and sort of tokens, your little hiker markers, are very easy to interact with. There's no bump factor. Everything's clearly laid out on this lovely board down here, what cards go where. There's tons of space for everything. It's really nice. It's easy to use. Solid 2 for 2 there. Moving on to, is it enjoyable? It's very enjoyable. There isn't really a lot of bumping or blocking that you can do to other players, other than the fact that if somebody is on the hiking trail space that you want to be on, you have to extinguish your campfire to stop there. And I believe if you do pick up one of the expansions or the expansion that has come out for the game, they even sort of answer that with the ability to camp overnight with little camping tent tokens. But I haven't bought that yet, so I'm not going to speak to it. Point being, there isn't really a lot of disruption that you can cause other players. You're all kind of just having a good time experiencing what the game has to offer you as far as this portrayal of hiking through the wilderness. So as far as enjoyable, solid 2 out of 2. It's nothing but fun to be had. You really can't get annoyed while playing this game. It's just too casual, too fun, too nice to take in. And lastly, is it teachable? It's extremely teachable. The rule set is not complex at all. If you understand how these 2 hikers move down this trail and how you can use things like canteens, which you fill up with water to activate their special ability and then drain at the end of every year, dropping out that water token so that you can fill it up again the next year, then you basically understand all of the components of the game. The gear is basically a small little synergy system that you can build up to help you take additional actions or benefit from additional actions throughout the course of the game. This trail map expanding just adds more opportunity to collect bonus elements that you can use to reach out or to acquire national parks which you're actually visiting. There's nothing complex about the game other than working on a nice little sort of moderate strategy to maximize how many VP you get at the end of the game. But again, you're enjoying the game itself so much that you don't even really focus on that. You just kind of like take in everything that it has to offer. So a solid 2 out of 2 for Teachable. That leaves this game at a 10 out of 10. Parks is a wonderful game. I've wanted to tell you for so long, but I originally filmed a review that I felt was a little too bloated. I'm trying to tame things in a bit. But 10 out of 10 for Parks. Absolutely pick up a copy of this game if you can. There are 2 expansions, there's 1 expansion, which is Nightfall, which brings in camping and a tent token into the game for each player. And then there is a slightly modified version of this game, which I'll do a separate review on, called Trails, which is basically if you feel like Parks is a little too much for you, or you want a slightly smaller, almost travel-size version of this game, Trails will do that for you. Both games, obviously, by Keymaster Games. I'm probably going to do a separate review on that. Like I said, I do have it on the shelf behind me. I just haven't gotten a chance to play it. But again, Parks, 10 out of 10. Definitely buy this game if you get the opportunity. It's absolutely worth it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I will see you in the next one. Have a good night.